Hello, Fireblade here with another tutorial. This tutorial is, well, if you watched the last one you know, it'd be how to get activities going, such as rotating brushes, things that move. So, I'm not going to teach you how to create an exact activity. I'm just going to teach you how to use such entities so that you can incorporate them into your own map and create your own activities with your own creativity into that. So the first thing I'm going to do is to create a simple rotating prop. I've already created a second room here, so I'm just going to create a simple long lengthily brush right here. If I select the brush tool, then it would work. So there's a 16 by 16 by 384 block. Let's give it a different color so we can see it. If you're having trouble seeing things because you're using the same color, you can top left camera, go to flat, and you can see things a bit easier. Kind of like that. I obviously didn't fix that, so let me just fix that real quick. Alright, so now I have a simple old block here. Let's move it away from the wall a little bit. Right there. I'm going to make a little upward stance here. So let me shorten that a little. I'll move this over here. So I'm going to turn this entire thing into an entity. To do that, I need to select all three of these brushes, these solid brushes. So click one using the selector tool. You can use groups or solids. I'm going to use solids. Click. And then hold down control, left control, and left click again on your 3D view. So you have all of them selected. Now you can use Control T to turn it into an entity. Now I'm going to turn this into func underscore rotating. I'm going to give it a name, jump rope, because that's what it's going to be. Now you want the rotation speed to be however much you want it to be. Remember there's 360 degrees in this max rotation speed. If you set it to 360, that means it's going to take a full 1 second to complete the circle. Unless you have in your flag section ACC/DCC, that is acceleration and deacceleration. That means when it starts or stops, there's a little slowdown period. It doesn't just stop, it just goes from like 100 speed to like 80, 60, 40, 20 to 0. I'm gonna have this set to nothing in the flags. I'm going to go down here and turn the blocking damage to enough to kill the player. I want it to be somewhat challenging, so let's see. 135. And you can tinker with the friction and the speed and however kind of values you want to put. And since it does not start on, I'm going to need a button. So I'm just going to copy this using the objects. That way I keep the button. I just have to modify something real quick. I'll shift and paste it over here. I'll center it right. Double click on the button. Now you can see it's nice and set here. I'm going to change delay before reset to -1. That way when I activate the button that it stays there. And you can't reactivate it again. No, you don't want that. So keep it to let's see. How long do you want that button, that jump rope, to be activated? If you want it to be activated for 10 seconds, you can set it to 10. That means you cannot press that button up to 10 seconds when you press it. Keep it to 3. So I'm just explaining that. I'm pretty sure I explained that in the first tutorial. So -1, you can never use the button again. If you set the delay to 1 second, that means you can't use the button within 1 second after activating it. Flags. Don't move and use activates. I do not want damage to activate it, because then there could be some problems where the T shoots the button with a pistol and sort of team kills everyone. I don't need that, so I'll just delete it. Click add, go to on pressed. I'll use the dropper tool on the jump rope, and I want to use the via output toggle. That means when I press the button, it turns on. If I press it again, it turns off, etc. So that is a rotating prop, or not prop, a brush. This will rotate, but the origin is wrong, and the XYZ is wrong. Right now, it's only going to rotate on the top-down perspective. It's just going to rotate like this. I don't want that. It's also rotating around the circle origin here. It needs to be more towards the center, right there. The reason why it needs to be there is because I don't want the prop to rotate around the center like this. It's not supposed to do that. It needs to rotate along this axis right here. So if I were to rotate it like that, it'll be like that instead of like that. If you understand. You need to place this blue dot on the origin, the center, and it rotates around that pivot. So now, as I said, it'll rotate along the top-down perspective. Don't want that. So double click, go to flags, and in here you'll know. So put your mouse over the top left of your view. This is said side XZ, that's the XZ, and this is the YZ. Now, if I look here, this is the way I want it to rotate, like this, just around the except around the origin. But I'm not going to use Y. I'm going to use X, because the way it is I'm showing the Y is basically showing you this direction. The X is basically showing you this direction. So in theory, Y is going straight out from this view. So I want to use the opposite of Y, which is X. Click X, apply, and now this prop or brush should rotate around this blue, going up, down, not up, down, but rotating around the origin. Don't really know how to explain that in detail. Alright, 8 minutes in. Alright. So now we need to use, you can use movelinear or doors for linear moving. So I'm going to click the solid tool, left click on this little bit here, shift and paste it over here. Now because I used the solid selector up here, that means this is no longer an entity or part of an entity. It's a solid brush. I'm going to give it a little bit of length. I'm going to actually just have it as a little platform. Alright. Let's turn it into an entity. Control T. Let's use move linear. Give it a name. Platform. Using the top-down perspective, I'm going to have it go to the right. So to do that, move direction, get that line pointing to the right. That looks good. Speed. This is how fast and cubic inches it's going. So in 1 second, it's going to travel 100 inches. That's fine. Move distance. This is how many inches it's going to move based off of this center origin here. So in theory, 64 inches would move me 64 inches. I want mine to go 776. Using the selector tool, I can use this as a guideline. It's how many length by that number. I can select it again, go to move distance 776, click apply. Flags, if you want it to be not solid, then the player cannot collide with it, so you can check mark that if you want to. I'm also going to use solids again, shift copy it right on top of each other, use the trigger brush or texture, give it the texture, turn this into an entity, func trigger multiple. On outputs, add on start touch all, trigger the platform to open. Add on end touch all, platform close. So the way this is going to work is, this is an invisible field that when the player's or a part of the player's body is inside of, it will activate the on start touch all. So when all of the players that are inside of that block, that currently inside the block, not all the players in the server, just all the players that are inside that invisible brush, it will activate. So basically, when someone touches this invisible block, this invisible brush, it will activate the on start touch. And I'm activating the platform to open. So it's moving to the right, 766. And when there's no one touching it, then it will close it and go back. Now you could use this actually, this would probably be better, on touching and on not touching. This can be used better in situations, but this means that the on not touching will constantly activate. So you do not want to use that in this type of situation. So you want to use on start touch and on end touch. On start touch open, on end touch all close. Alright. So this move linear should travel 776 or 68 to the right. That's just fine. Now the problem is this invisible brush will stay here, but the platform that you're standing on will move. So as soon as it moves over here, you will no longer be touching this invisible brush. So that means that it won't activate anymore, and thus it'll just go to the right, left, right, left, right, left, constantly. So to fix that, the parent, property parent, you can use the eyedropper tool and left click on the 3D view, or you can use the name, type it in. So parent, this basically means that this entity will follow this entity. So if this moves even an inch over there, it'll move with it. So basically, it moves like this, as one. And so you'll, as long as you're standing on this platform, it will constantly be moving over until it's completed the open stage. And the open stage is when 776 units have passed. It's actually 768. Alright, let's see. There's, let's see. There's one other I wanted to say. Yes, that. Solid. Move this over a little bit. A wall, huh? Alright. We're going to turn this into an entity. Wall toggle. Use wall toggle. Do not use wall because that's not used in CSGO anymore. You don't need to use that. Click apply. You do not need to give this specific entity in this specific case a name. Or, alright, actually, yeah, give it a name. We're just going to give it a wall toggle name. Alright. Now, in the situation where you need a, where you're going to use a prop as a button, it's a bit different on how you use that. So, you want to use the little thing here, alright, entity tool. I just placed it for temporary. Use, let's see, prop static. Find a good model. There we go. Set it right. Alright. You got a model here now. Alright. Congratulations. That does absolutely nothing. Now go to your texture and type in no draw or invisible. Will work. Now you want to create a block around this, just like that, and turn this into an entity. Func button. Now, using this func button, make sure you select it, func button. You can go to outputs, add, unpressed, the wall to toggle. And I'm going to use this as fire once only. If this is checked, that means this particular output will only activate once in the entire round. And the way this wall works is this wall is here, and when it receives an input like toggle, then it will disappear. You can go to the flag section, start it invisible, meaning it's disappeared, but when you activate the button, it appears. So I'm going to save this as tutorial 3. It's 19 minutes. Well, lengthy tutorial, but hopefully you understand enough about this. I know I could have shortened this down probably to like 12 minutes, but I don't like script my tutorials, so it's on the fly. So hopefully you deal with that. Hopefully you learned. So let's review. Rotating brush rotates around the origin here, activated by toggle with the button. Move linear moves in a special direction as specified units. The trigger multiple activates when a player is inside the brush. The wall disappears or reappears when received toggle. Using a prop as a button requires an invisible brush to be over it. as an entity button. Alright, compile this real quick, just make sure it works. Fast. And there you go. Alright, hopefully you learned something. Have a nice day. And subscribe, like, comment.